In this lesson, we're going to take a closer look at the bandwidth HTML use HTML tags for formatting presentations by simulating various download speeds. And this is a very important thing for us to do because not everybody in the world has high-speed broadband connections. To use the bandwidth profiler, we need to export our movie using either Control Test Movie or Control Debug Movie. Notice the keyboard shortcut for Test Movie. I'm going to mention this again in a minute. So when we choose this, our movie is exported and we get the player window. Now, if the bandwidth profiler is not visible, choose View and Bandwidth Profiler here. Now, because our exported movie is sitting on our local hard drive, it's going to load almost instantly. So we have to enable download mode by choosing View and Simulate Download. Notice that the keyboard shortcut for this is Control-Enter on a PC and Command-Return on a Mac, which is the same shortcut as Test Movie. So if you're tweaking your download performance, you can go straight into this mode by just hitting the shortcut twice. After that, every time you hit it, this mode will toggle, restarting playback at the beginning. Okay, first off, we can customize the connection speed that we're simulating. Choose View and Download Settings and choose from the list, or hit Customize to set up your own. Now let's see what the bandwidth profiler actually shows us. At the left, we have some movie properties. The dimensions, frame rate, size, duration, and preload are first. Then our current bandwidth setting and the current frame. Also displayed here is streaming data. If something is currently being loaded, its progress information will be shown below everything else. At the top right is a representation of the timeline with frame numbers. When we simulate a download, the green area shows the frames that have been downloaded so far. We can drag the playhead around just like we can in the timeline to see which parts of the timeline correspond to which parts of the graph below. And this graph shows us a graphical representation of the data that's being downloaded in each frame. And this is really handy because you can immediately identify problem frames, frames that spike or contain more information than the rest. At the current bandwidth setting, there's a red line that indicates how much data can be downloaded per frame to maintain smooth playback while streaming. In our example, we have the preloader that pauses playback until the entire movie is downloaded. But if it wasn't there, then every frame would have to be below this red line, or else the movie will have to pause for each frame that's over the line. And this helps us fine-tune our movies, because if a particular frame is being naughty and causing delays, we might be able to shift some of the data around to other frames to minimize these delays. Let's modify the bandwidth setting a few times, and we'll see how this red line changes. We have 480 bytes per frame, and if we move up to DSL speed, this changes. Now, to finish up, look in the View menu, and you'll see that we can display our download in two ways, streaming graph or frame by frame. Let's have a look at frame by frame. This view shows the actual data that each frame contains. Notice that the display alternates between light and dark shading to help us differentiate between frames. Also, if we click on a block, we can see the data from that frame displayed at the left. Of course, we see that some frames contain more data than others. But if we switch to Streaming Graph, you'll see that the graph looks a lot flatter. Flash will try its best to even out a download. If a particular frame doesn't contain enough data to reach the red line, or bandwidth limit, Flash will take data from other frames and load it in advance. This utilizes the available bandwidth a lot better and minimizes playback hiccups. Of course, some frames are going to go over the limit if there is a fair amount of data, but this still helps. And that does it for the bandwidth profiler. Let's move on to the next lesson.